The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, as this question follows on directly from a comment made by the Honourable Bill English yesterday, and as he is obviously not here to answer it today, sir, I seek leave to have this question held over to the next sitting day.
Leave is sought to have the question held over to the next sitting day. Is there any objection? There is objection. The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, does he stand by his answer to question 7 yesterday, suggesting that Australia is heading for a double-dip recession?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
On behalf of the Minister of Finance, despite relatively strong growth in the first part of last year, Australia's growth slowed to just 0.2% in the September quarter. There are high levels of household debt and their consumer and housing markets are slowing down quite significantly. Of course, what I omitted to say yesterday was that Australia never had an initial recession, unlike New Zealand, which, under the Labor Party, went into a recession almost a year before the global financial crisis even hit.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, in light of the Minister's answer, can he tell the House when did Australia first go into recession following the onset of the global financial crisis?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, I answered that in the previous answer to the question on behalf of the Minister of Finance. I would, however, point out that the reason that Australia didn't have the first recession was that they did not have the Labor government that we had in New Zealand for 9 years, and I would suggest there is a strong correlation between the two.
Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, I would normally do this at the end of the session, but as it relates directly to the point made by the Minister, I seek leave to table a statement on monetary policy by the Reserve Bank of Australia issued just days ago, which shows forecasts of strong, positive economic growth for the next 5 years.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is objection. Supplementary question, Chris Tremaine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister of Finance, what reports has he seen on the reasons for New Zealand's most recent recession in 2008?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, New Zealand went into recession.
Point of order, Darren Hughes.
So this question set down by David Cunliffe is about an Australian double-dip recession, and the supplementary question is about recessions in New Zealand. I can't see the connection between the two. This is a very specific primary question.
Order. If the member had listened to the Minister's answer, you have noticed the Minister did refer to what had happened in New Zealand at the same time, which does open the question more widely, including for opposition members. So the question is in order. Chris Tremaine.
No.
Sorry, the Honourable Stephen Joyce to answer the question.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, New Zealand went into recession months before most other developed countries due to serious and damaging imbalances that built up in the economy under the previous government. Among these were a massive blowout in government spending, rampant inflation, which peaked at 5.1% at the end of 2008, a credit binge that will take years to unwind, and decade-high interest rates, all of which strangled our export sector and all of which the opposition doesn't want to know about. It appears Labor has learned nothing from that recession, as it still seems prepared to pump up spending and pump up debt.
Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, not only is the question marginal, the Minister's answer is turning into a speech.
Order. No, it's up to the Speaker to determine whether or not ministers are taking too long, and I'd say the Minister had taken sufficient time indeed to answer the question. Question number... supplementary question is the Honourable David Cunliffe.
In fact, 2 more to go, Mr. Speaker. It's such fun. Mr. Speaker, which aspect of the Australian government's comprehensive and well-targeted stimulus package contributed most to their avoiding going into recession, unlike this national government in New Zealand?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, there's a number of things that prevented Australia from going into recession while New Zealand did. One is that they didn't have the massive blowout in public spending during the 2000s that we had in this country. Secondly, that they didn't have higher marginal tax rates at lower rates than we had in this country. And thirdly, that they ran an altogether much more business-friendly policy than was run over the period of the 2000s. That's just 3 off the top of my head.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Go again, David.
Mr. Speaker, if Australia is headed for a double-dip recession, can the Minister explain why 36,000 New Zealanders emigrated there in the past year, showing up John Key's promise to stop this brain drain to be yet another cruel hoax?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, that's pretty rich coming from somebody who wants to raise the top tax rates to over 50%. Because the reason that people went to Australia in record numbers throughout the 2000s...
The point of order is called.
Point of order, Mr Speaker. There's so many things wrong with that answer that it's going to take a while, Mr Speaker.
Order. If the member doesn't want that kind of answer, he shouldn't include in his supplementary question language like cruel hoaxes. It just invites the minister to have a fair bit of licence how he answers it. So I'm going to allow the minister to finish his answer. The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
So, Mr Speaker, the key point that I was making was that was pretty rich coming from a party that wants to increase top marginal tax rates to encourage the flight of skilled New Zealanders to Australia, just as they did through the 2000s, creating record immigration to Australia from this country. Mr Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Point of order, Mr Speaker. I seek leave to table Immigration New Zealand statistics which show that immigration to Australia is now higher.
Order. No, member, resume his seat. Member knows the statistical release is available to all members and we don't seek leave to table that sort of document. Question. Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Your ruling, sir, which of course you may be able to repeat, but this is a special document which has been compiled by our own research unit, which pulls together a number of different sources of information to undoubtedly prove the point that more Kiwis are immigrating to Australia now than under 6 of the 9 years of the previous Labor government.
Order. Leave has sought to table a document prepared by the Labor Party research unit on immigration figures. Is there any objection to... There is objection. Question number 7, the Honourable Tauhanarei.